Hi, this is Lisa DeMonte from mylegal.com. We're coming to you live from the Georgetown University Law Center. We're here the first full day of seminars at the Georgetown Center for the Study of Legal Profession, Law Firm Evolution, Brave New World, or Business as Usual. I'm delighted to have as my guest this afternoon Deborah Epstein Henry, who's the founder and president of Flex Time Lawyers. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you so much.
We're really glad to have you here today, especially you bring a lot to this whole subject of career paths in the new era. And you yourself are an attorney, a former litigator, and are now spending most of your time consulting with law firms. So tell us a little bit about the consulting that you do, and then we'll talk about the seminar and session that we just both attended.
Sure. I develop women's initiatives for firms. I write all different types of work-life policies for firms. I do a lot of implementation of the policies that I write. So after rolling out a policy, I'll go in and do training on how to make the work environment more hospitable for both male and female lawyers, or to make the work environment ones where women can thrive and really perform at a higher level. So I do a lot of public speaking, speaking at partner retreats, and doing that sort of stuff as well.
That's very important because, as we know, it's great to attend these seminars, but the implementation is really the key factor. So what are you seeing at some of the law firms in terms of challenges with the implementation?
Implementation is really the key. And what I see as the problem is that most of the large firms, at least, have really rolled out the right policies and have done that, but they haven't gotten to the next stage of getting effective implementation. And the best indicia of that is usage rates. Usage rates are incredibly low, and that's usually an indicator that the policies are not really viable. And when you even drill down more and you not just look at usage rates, but you look who's using the policies, you can tell once again that it's not right. So if you have work-life policies, for example, men are not really using them, it's only women with kids, or associates are using them and partners are not, or the only people who are using them are for parenting reasons, those are usually evidence that the policies in fact are not viable. So really what makes the difference is not only having good policies in place, but having effective training in place, and then really having great role models who are availing the policies and celebrating those role models.
Now, during the session of which you were a panelist, we talked about ways that law firms can really get ahead in the new era. So what kinds of things can law firms do to get ahead?
Well, I think the key for law firms now is, rather than just focus on substantive expertise, which a lot of firms have historically focused on, they need to really put talent management and the way that lawyers work as their principal priority, to kind of capitalize on that knowledge and really try to better align the work demands and the demands of clients with the talent needs. Because until you have that alignment, you really can't have effective service, because you constantly have either attrition or layoffs or ineffective use of lawyers because they're not performing at capacity.
So you feel there's really a mismatch then between the talent pool and the needs that are out there?
Absolutely. I think there's a mismatch, and I talked about it in my remarks today really in three levels. One is with generational gaps and the fact that 70% of law firm partners are boomers, and Gen X is really not positioned to take over the work that boomers have right now. Another big challenge is the attrition layoff issue. That in a good market, there's tremendous attrition. In a bad market, there's tremendous layoffs. In both cases, it's a mismatch of the talent and the labor market. And then the third example I provided is women, that women have comprised 40 to 50% of law school graduating classes for 25 years, yet we're only 16% of equity partners. Clearly, there's a problem going on that women are not rising to the ranks as they should.
So let's take each of those three keys and focus in a little bit on them and expand upon them a little bit. The first is the generational shifts. We talked about during the session mandatory retirement and how that is not necessarily an effective way for law firms to be successful, and perhaps maybe using some of that talent in a phased retirement to serve as mentors for some of the new associates. Can you expound upon that a little bit?
Sure, and it really is an issue. The trend in the industry is to move away from mandatory retirement. In fact, that's been the ABA recommendation since 2007. And so with that, the real challenge is to effectively manage succession planning so that Senior lawyers can still play an integral role of the firm, but they are effectively transitioning their relationships with clients and their financial incentives to do that, but that they're effectively moving the talent and the management role from the senior level to the junior partners, and addressing the talent gap, the fact that Gen X is not as large enough a generation to fill the Gen Y shoes, to fill the boomer shoes, but to be able to use the boomers in kind of more of an advisory role to fill niche positions and things like that.
That's very interesting because we talked about the ability for the more senior partners to serve in that advisory sort of mentoring role. So that's a win-win situation, as we discussed in yesterday's evening presentation. So it benefits the law firm, it benefits the young talent, and it certainly benefits the client. So
absolutely.
Okay, good. Now, second point was about acute challenges facing women. So tell us a little bit more about the challenges that are facing women.
I think the real issue with women is they've never been successful competing over time. So when the billable hour measures value through time, women really have always stalled in that regard. They comprise most of the lawyers working flexible, reduced hours, etc. So if there's a transition from the billable hour model to an alternative fee model, I think there's a real opportunity with women, because if their work becomes measured based on value and talent and delivery and results as opposed to time, they can compete in that realm. They can compete very effectively. And there's studies that support that increased flexibility that's allowed for professionals improves productivity. And so I think that a firm would also benefit in that regard.
So women are really good at multitasking and creating efficiencies, perhaps because they've had to balance their family lives with their work lives. So what you're seeing as we move to alternative fee arrangements, that women have an opportunity to be much more successful because that's really their sweet spot.
Absolutely, and in addition to efficiency, there's never been an issue about quality of work with women. Their competency is top-notch. So it's the combination with alternative fees of capitalizing on both efficiency and results that women really have the opportunity to thrive.
And Debbie, let's shift gears just for a moment. We just have a couple of minutes left. You have you're working on a book right now, as I understand it.
I am.
Can you tell us just a little bit about the book and what we could expect?
Sure. The book is sort of a compilation of 11 years of me just focusing exclusively on these issues. Half the book is focused on advice for legal employers, and the second half of the book is focused on advice for lawyers. And really, there are three substantive topics in the book. They are work-life balance, the retention and promotion of women lawyers, and new models of legal practice. So a lot of what we've been talking about today, it's advice for the legal profession in these three areas.
And when will the book be out?
It should be published the end of this year. It's due in 2 months, so I've got a lot of work to do.
Well, very exciting. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
we
you.
look forward to hearing about the book and having it available. Thanks again.
Thank you.